Okay. As a preliminary matter, this is Zoe Burgess, City Clerk. Please permit me to confirm that all council members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Council members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Councilman John Paul O'Connor. Councilman John Paul O'Connor. Councilman O'Connor, we're unable to hear you.
Could you hear me, Zoe, or no?
We can hear you now.
Could I hear me before?
No.
Okay.
Councilwoman Crump, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. Councilman Patrick Paul.
Present.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson
Yes.
and Mayor Manning.
Yes.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Planning and Zoning Director, Nilsa Zacharias. Planning and Zoning Director, Nilsa Zacharias, you're muted.
Unmuted.
There you are.
No.
We can hear
Can
you
you
now.
hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. City
Thank you.
Attorney, Pam Booker.
I'm here.
City Manager, Kenneth Castle.
I can hear you.
Thank you. Anticipated speakers and presenters on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Donaldson Hearing, Cutler Hearing. You're unmuted. Donaldson Hearing.
I am here.
Doug Moreland on behalf of Florida Public Utilities.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Mayor, we're ready.
Okay.
And if I just may continue, actually I have additional public information regarding public comments. I apologize.
That's all right.
Public comments are accepted at least 24 hours prior to the meeting utilizing the electronic comment card available on the city's website. Public comments are also permitted at the appropriate time during the meeting. The mayor will call for such during public comment, both in the beginning and end of the meeting, as well as the public hearing section of the agenda. You may participate at this time utilizing the system's virtual hand feature and waiting to be acknowledged if you wish to comment. Please note this meeting is being recorded, both voice and video, and to remember your mic may be live. I will unmute any microphones that carry any feedback or interruption. However, you have the ability to unmute yourself. Any person in the virtual meeting causing a disruption or being inappropriate will be removed from this meeting. Thank you. Mayor Manning.
Yes. Thank you, Zoe. I would like to call this regular meeting of the City of Westlake City Council to order July 13th, 2020 at 6:34 p.m. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 2020-69 as extended by Executive Orders 20-121, 20-123, 20-139, and 20-150, and as adopted by the City of Westlake City Council in Emergency Ordinance 2020-07 and 2020-08. Due to COVID and the need to ensure public health, safety, and welfare, this meeting may be conducted without a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location and utilizing communications media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Section 120.54 5B2 Florida statutes. City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilman John O'Connor.
Present.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Present.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Present.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Present.
Mayor Roger Manning.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Okay, could we have a pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? If not, I'll accept the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Make a motion that we accept and approve this evening's agenda as is.
I'll second the
I'll
motion.
second. Oh, okay.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Long Robinson, seconded by Kara Crump. Roll call. Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Roger Manning.
Yes.
Thank you.
Public comments and requests. At this time, City Clerk, were there any public comment cards previously received or any members of the public who wish to speak?
I have a letter that you requested to be read into record
Mhm.
from Nancy Bongiovanni at 16016 Whippoorwill Circle. It reads, Dear Mayor Manning, I felt it was important to commend the performance of our city planning and zoning and building departments. As you are aware, I executed a report to all of you, the governing body of Westlake, requesting a zoning ordinance for standalone generators. I would like to extend thanks to Nilsa and Joe and those who helped me understand an area that was Greek to me. Their patience, help, persistence, provision for information was exceptional. This distinguished group is commendable in serving the citizens of Westlake. Thank you. Sincerely, Nancy Bongiovanni.
Very nice.
I have not received any other additional comments beforehand. However, we'll give a moment for the public. If you have a comment, you may raise your virtual hand to be acknowledged. Are there any public comments? If you're unable to raise a virtual hand, you may unmute yourself now and identify your name and address. Mayor, I believe there's no public comments.
Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda, please. We have one item on the consent agenda, the financial report. Could we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Crump, seconded by Vice Mayor Long Robinson. Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kara Crump. Councilwoman Kara Crump.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Roger Manning.
Yes.
Consent passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the public hearing portion. We'll start out with A, Resolution 2020-11, resolution for the final plat for Green Lane. We have a presentation.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Herring, if you give me a moment. You're all set, Mr. Herring.
Thank you very much, Zoe. Mr. Mayor, council members, for the record, Donaldson Hearing with the firm of Kotler and Hearing here tonight on behalf of Minto for the plat of Green Lane. And I'll walk you through this. Of course, we've seen many of plats over the last year or so, and you'll continue to see more as the infrastructure continues to be built out here at Westlake. So the plat in total has about an acreage of 6.2 acres, and it has been approved by both the city engineering staff, the city's legal department, as well as Seminole Improvement District. And so we're pleased to have this on the agenda this evening. So on the screen now, you can see highlighted in green is the location of Green Lane. Green Lane will be a connector road, so it's a reliever road in between Persimmon, so it's south of Persimmon, and it's east of Ilex Way, what we refer to as Phase 2. This is the Phase 2 portion of Ilex Way. So this it will connect to Ilex Way immediately north of and contiguous to the plat of ISTF, or what we refer to as Pod I. Green Lane will provide the secondary access to Pod O, which is located immediately to the east. Again, it's a reliever road that will connect all the way up to Persimmon. It may or may not provide access to the school site that's located immediately north of Parcel N at this time, but that potential exists. This is what the plat looks like. Again, the plats are prepared consistent with the requirements of the Florida statutes. And that's really what this is the obligation is for the city to review this for technical compliance in accordance with the Florida statutes. And your staff has determined that this plat is technically compliant. The roadway itself will go inside the boundaries of what we refer to as this plat or this road right of way. And that is currently being reviewed by staff and will be under construction shortly. So these are fairly benign technical drawings. Off to the bottom right is the access that goes right here, which goes to Pod O, or the Groves. And I understand that things are moving forward well with the sales and marketing of Pod O. Then ultimately it goes up north of the school site and connects with Persimmon. So with that, we would request your approval tonight, and we thank you very much for your time.
Mayor, you're unmuted now.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Don. Do we have any questions from the council? Show no questions. Zoe, would you read by title, please?
A resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving the final plat for Green Lane, being a portion of Section 7, Township 43 South, Range 41 East, and Section 12, Township 43 South, Range 40 East, City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for recordation, providing for an effective date.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adopt 2020-11 resolution for final plat for Green Lane.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Motion made by Councilman O'Connor, seconded by Councilwoman Crump. Roll call. Councilman Paul?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump?
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Manning.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to item B, resolution 2020-16. This is a resolution for West Palm Beach Amenity Center site plan, which includes a one-story, 13,728 square foot clubhouse, a 4,000 square foot pool, recreational sports areas, covered porches, and a plaza. And we have a presentation on that also.
Ms. Zacharias,
Yes,
we have a
So-
presentation.
yes, we are ready to move this. Just trying to find the button to start moving the slide. In any case, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. We have in front of you an application from the Amenity Center for Crestwind Palm Beach. This is Nilsa Zacharias, Planning and Zoning Director for the City of Westlake. The applicant is is KH Westlake, and as I mentioned before, is the Crestwind Palm Beach Amenity Center. This amenity center will be located on Pad P1, which also is the Crestwind development. Zoe, can you see that on the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the site information, the total gross site area is 6.66 acres. This is an application for one-story building, which is 13,728, a clubhouse with a covered porch that is 4,503. The future land use is a residential R2, and the zoning is residential R2. As you can see on the slide, it's a large site and has a number of structures and amenities that we will go one by one. Also the elevation that you see, that is the front elevation of the building. To look at more in detail, the land use, as I mentioned before, the future land use is R2 and the zoning is also R2. I always like to put on the screen our zoning map, because the first thing that the Planning and Zoning Department does when we receive an application is we ask ourselves, what is the future land use, and especially what is the zoning? And then we open our code and we look at one by one if the proposed application is in compliance with our code. So, and in order to do this review, we have a team. The team is the planning and zoning, is engineering, and is landscaping. We are all part of the City of Westlake staff. The application is also reviewed by Seminole Improvement District, and definitely we also request a review from Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, which is essential to see if, in case of an emergency, if the fire trucks can actually perform on these roads and entryways. So as I mentioned before, this facility includes a number of structures. It's not just one building. It includes, first of all, the clubhouse, which is a one-story building that also has a covered porch. Then there is a pavilion building. There's also a number of poolside cabanas. There is a swimming pool and a spa. The swimming pool is 4,000 square feet. There is another round resistance pool, which has 20 feet radius. There is a stage for special events. There are 2 tennis courts. There are 8 pickleball courts. There is also horseshoe courts, bocce courts, Also, there is a shaded structure. And this facility also includes a number of minor and regular shaded structures around the property to offer some relief from the weather. In addition, this facility includes a mail kiosk, which is right here, and includes a dog park for small and large dogs, which is located here, a perimeter walking path, and then this is a future sport court, which will be developed later on. And here you can see, and I know the applicant has also a presentation, so he will go into details of all the different structures. This is just a general view of the proposed facility. And these are the tables that are included on your staff report, and that's what we review. As I mentioned before, the first thing that we do when we receive an application is we open our code, land development regulations that actually was adopted last year. So, and those regulations include setbacks, includes lot coverage, includes open space, pervious area. And on this second column, this is what is required by code. And the third column is what is proposed by the applicant. So for example, these are the open space. The code is requiring minimum 25% of open space. The applicant is proposing 34.10. So that means that this application is in compliance with code, specifically in that category. So, and that's this Don Hearing and I and the team, we work very close together throughout the review process. And then this is quite a bit of back and forth throughout the review process. And then this other table is showing, for example, what is the required height per code. In this case, is 30 feet, and the applicant is proposing 30 feet. So this is in compliance. And we also look at it, at how much parking is required per code, how much the applicant is proposing, and even the bike rack. So it's a very detailed analysis that I go through. As part of that review, in this specific case, the applicant was requesting a waiver from providing loading zone. So the applicant indicates that the subject facility does not require frequent receipt or distribution by motor vehicles of materials or merchandise at this facility. So our code right now has a provision that an applicant can request a waiver from this application, from this specific requirement, I will say. So in this case, the waiver has been reviewed and recommended by the city engineer and approved by the planning and zoning director. Through the code, there are most of the provisions that we have, they are very specific, and we really don't provide too many waivers. So basically the applicant has to comply with the code, but in this specific provision, there is a way that the applicant can request a waiver. I'm moving along. So the subject application was also reviewed by the city's landscape architect, and it was found in compliance with the city code, and also was reviewed by the city's engineer, reviewed specifically for drainage. And I understand the city engineer also coordinates that with SID, Seminole Improvement District. With regard to traffic, we also review that specific provision of the code, and all traffic associated with the recreation center was included within the Crestwind Phase 1 and Phase 2 site plans, and no additional traffic is generated with this application. So that is part of the with the subject application. So in fire safety, the subject application was reviewed by Mr. Pedro Segovia with the Palm Beach County Fire Department and found that in compliance. So to finalize this presentation, this subject application was advertised in the Palm Beach Post as a public hearing. And as I mentioned before, it was reviewed by different departments and different professionals. And based on the subject review, the Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval of the subject application. The reviewers find the application in compliance with applicable codes and requirements. Thank you.
Mr. Herring, I believe you have a presentation also? No.
Yes, sir, I do. As soon as Zoe gives me control, we'll go ahead, and I'll try to be brief and not repeat too much of what you heard. Again, Mr. Mayor and council members, for the record, my name is Donaldson Hearing. I am here tonight on behalf of Coulter. Coulter is the developer of the Crestwind Palm Beach project, and I'm hopeful that you all have been able to drive by and to see the quality and the intentionality of the design and the experience that we have tried to deliver for the Crestwinds community. So this is the first active adult community, which is located within the Crestwinds or within the city of Westlake. So it's 55 plus. And so there is a lot of kind of different ingredients that go into an active adult community as compared to what we do in our traditional family communities, who we're really trying to work toward and meet the specific needs of an active adult. As Nielsa pointed out, the parcel is centrally located within what we refer to as parcel P1. And so to date, this commission has approved 147 units in Plat 1, 152 units in Plat 2. There's anticipated to be about 650 plus units in Pod P1. And then in total with Pod P2, which is to the east, a total of 800 dwelling units. So this recreation center will serve all of those. Please know that these residents are certainly have the opportunity to take to enjoy the beautiful amenity center that has been built on parcel PC1, which is 14.88 acres, with all the amenities that you're well aware of. But then there is the facility that they have internal located in the central portion of their site, which they will be able to utilize. So just zooming in, the yellow line indicates the two plats that you have approved to date. The pink is parcel P2, and again, in total, there will be about 800 dwelling units approved in this site. So very nicely located. Very large central lake that it sits on, so it's really a beautiful facility. Just kind of zooming in and giving you a little bit more context. You can see it's very, very walkable. As Neil pointed out, we provided not only a wonderful parkway experience all the way from the front entrance, all the way to the amenity parcel, and then beyond. But there is a 8-foot wide pathway that goes all the way along the lake that enables our residents the opportunity to recreate, to have their passive recreation, their aerobics in the morning, walking around the beautiful lake experience, which provides interconnectivity throughout the community. And that was something that we work with staff on all of our site plans to look at ways to provide the best pedestrian connectivity throughout each of our communities. So as Nielsa had pointed out, this is a 6.69 acre site. She pointed out the land use being R2, so I won't go over and belabor that. The clubhouse that we are providing on this site is a little bit over 13,000 square feet. In addition, there's a large covered porch. We have a mail kiosk and then a pavilion building that provides for ancillary opportunities. We have parking that provides for the overall community that can be used for guest parking at different times. We have golf cart parking. We have tennis courts, plus lots of pickleball and lots of opportunity. And as Nielsa pointed out, one of the things that we've introduced here, which we have now introduced in several of the Crestwood communities that we have been planning throughout the southeastern United States, including, really throughout, as well as our one of our latest facilities in Lakewood Ranch on the West Coast. It is a resistance pool. And so the resistance pool is where one can walk in a circle with the water providing pressure. So it's just a great way for those of us who are older than 55, and I'll admit that I'm there, unfortunately, to get additional exercise. So the site plan is on the screen, and you can see the parking conveniently located, the large multimodal pathways that not only do we have along the Crestwood Place Boulevard that extends all the way out to the multimodal paths connecting to the Town Center Parkway, but also goes all the way around the Lakeway. So a lot of intentionality given to creating a very, very special environment. A wonderful resort-style pool with a resistance pool, with a spa, bocce ball courts, just a lot of opportunity. We have tennis courts, but of course the latest craze in the 55-plus community is pickleball. So pickleball is basically, you could have 4 pickleball courts generally in the area that you would have 1 tennis court. So in the event that we have a demand for more tennis versus pickleball, we have a lot of flexibility. We're proposing a dog park for small and large dogs. We have a poolside pavilion with an opportunity for a stage and environment. We've set up the opportunity to bring in food trucks. It's just really a very well thought out and well conceived, holistic amenity, all provided on 6.69 acres. Here's a picture of the building, the amenity building. Again, just a little bit over 13,000 square feet, along with large, expansive porches. The building has been designed by the renowned architectural firm of Affinity Architects, located in Fort Lauderdale. Mitch Kunick was the architect, and they do really an amazing job with the architecture. So it's more of a transitional style. It's a little bit more contemporary, but lots of high glass, as you can see in the images, the large clear stories. So really creating a very light and airy space where people want to be. Nielsa showed you kind of the little aerial view, just really intended to give you guys a great spatial analysis of what we're trying to propose. The landscape plans, of course, are stellar. I designed the plan myself, and so I can promise you, if you've driven in the community and seen how nice and how much attention we've given to the landscaping, this facility will be as equally as stunning as what you see at the front entrance, and we'll carry that throughout the entire community. Here's another view. This is a view of the lake path that runs along the lake. You can see in the distance, in the foreground here is the dog parks, then the pool pavilion, and as well as then the major, the primary amenity building. Of course, these residents will have the opportunity to utilize the dog park that we've built next to the amenity, but they have their own private dog park as well. So it would just adds to the wonderful recreational opportunities that we have. So with that, we're very proud to present this project to you this evening and respectfully request your approval, and just want to thank staff for all of their hard work and support as we have worked our way through the process. And with that, I will conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. That amenity center is very beautiful. I like the way that looks. It's awesome.
Thank you, sir.
We have any questions from the council?
I have a quick question. First and foremost, I just want to take a moment to thank staff. I know how hard everybody worked on this, and just want to say thank you. I was very, very pleased to see golf cart parking here, 18 spots, no less. I think that's genius. I think maybe we have an opportunity to look into something like that for the city's amenity center. I just had one quick question regarding the mail. I saw that there was a mail kiosk. However, will any of the homes in Crestwinds have individual mailboxes as well? I want to say I saw one at the models, which had me scratching my head.
Well, that's a very good question, Counselor. The United States Postal Service, under their new policy and trying to be efficient and cost savings, will not allow for individual mailboxes for residents. So, we have the consolidated mail kiosk at the amenity center, which in many ways, while it's not as convenient as having a mailbox at your front yard, it does create an additional opportunity for community engagement. What we found over the years, and we did this many years ago, Mr. DeVasta was one of the first to do it when we did the Riverwalk communities, is we put all the mail at the town center, which forced people to come, and it became a water hole. People would come at 5 o'clock, they get their mail, they have the opportunity to speak with their neighbor. So, to some extent, it's a good thing. Now, you might have seen some temporary mailboxes at the model center, and that's just because we don't yet have this permanent mail facility implemented. Once the permanent mail facility is implemented, as we've done in all of the other communities to date, there'll be one point of mail delivery.
Excellent. Really wonderful job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
We have anyone else? Show no more questions. Zoe, would you read by title, please?
Yes. Resolution 2020-16, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving the site plan for the Crestwind Palm Beach Amenity Center, including a 13,728 square foot clubhouse building, a 4,000 square foot pool, recreational sports areas, covered porches, and a plaza located at 15730 Crestwind Place in the City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for implementation and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-16.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilman Paul, seconded by Vice Mayor Long Robinson. Roll call. Councilman O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump?
Yes.
Councilman Paul?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson?
Yes.
Mayor Manning?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Council members, on behalf of Coulter and Coulter Communities, we thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, that moves us into new business. Item A, Education and Youth Advisory Board interviews and consideration for board nominations, and the appointment of 3 regular members to serve a 3-year term and a 1 alternate member to serve a 2-year term. I want to thank you for your hard work on this, Councilwoman Robinson. It's you've got some pretty impressive resumes here.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have some very impressive resumes, so thank you, Council, for supporting this. And I would like to know to our attorney if we can add, I know we definitely did not think we would get this many applications, so I think that goes to show that we're doing a good job with wanting to keep our constituents engaged. And I know we initially have, I think, 3, 4 and an alternate, but can we add 5? Is it possible we could do 5 and an alternate because we received so many interested persons and the resumes were remarkable. Is that possible for us to add 5 at this time and an alternate, Attorney Baker?
Mayor, council members, if that's the direction of the council, the ordinance can be amended to change the number of members that would serve on this board. We would bring that back to you for consideration and approval, but yes, it's at your discretion.
Another question, will we be able to move forward with adding these particular persons or voting on these particular persons tonight and then doing the amendment if we decide to amend?
Yes, you may. You may go ahead and vote for the 3 members, and the 1 alternate this evening. Once the ordinance is adopted to include 5, you would select the other 2 members at that time.
Okay. So we would just need a motion or a conversation. I'm open to a conversation about that, Council.
I would like to propose that we hold off. I would like to propose that we hold off maybe another month or so to see if we get more applications, and seeing that we now increased the numbers thinking about increasing the numbers to 5. I would like give it a little more time, perhaps put that out on Facebook and the city website again to see if there's more people interested in participating in this.
Councilman Paul, I think you're right on track here. I was going to say I was unbelievably impressed with all of these wonderful applicants, all with incredible resumes. I wanted to ask if perhaps we can somehow workshop this or really have a more lengthy conversation. Perhaps we all pick our top 3, and then hopefully we'll have a few overlapping names, or we're now 5. We'll all pick our top 5. It'll be a little easier to maybe select some of these wonderful applicants. But again, I think we need to really kind of maybe have a workshop just for this.
Yes, and this is Councilwoman Crump. I completely agree. It's going to be hard to pick a good, 5 out of this bunch, honestly. So it'll be good to have a workshop and kind of put our at least top 3 or 5 together and narrow it down as a group.
Okay. So, Attorney Baker, do we do a motion? How do we do that?
Motion to table, probably?
Yeah, I'm wondering, is that how we do that?
First of all, if it's the direction of the council to change this to 5 members, if there can be a motion on that ordinance change can come back to your next meeting. Then we'll work with the city manager to schedule a workshop meeting when you can go over all of the candidates. But the first step would be to change the existing ordinance so that it's 5 members instead of 3.
Council, I will say, keep in mind, and I think it's phenomenal, 2 do not live in Westlake yet. Their homes, it specified, will not be ready until November. So you do have 2 applicants who don't live in the city yet. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, so then we're gonna table this decision tonight?
I think that's what Councilman Paul
Yes.
said.
Mayor,
have to-
so it appears it would be two items that you're looking for. One is to table
Right.
this until we can schedule a workshop at another date. The second one is given direction so that we can make the amendment to include the 5 members to the Youth and Education Advisory Board. So it would be
Okay.
2 separate motions requested.
Two motions.
So I'll make, if Ken, if you could get that workshop as soon as possible, Dr.
We'll schedule it.
Fenoy.
Yeah, we'll
Dr.
schedule
Fenoy-
as soon as possible.
Perfect. Dr. Fenoy just released that we will be that his recommendation will be to go virtual. So council, I just want us to keep in mind that we do want to start making some decisions or being an asset to our community members, especially since we have Seminole Ridge. And if you notice, one of the applicants actually work at Seminole Ridge. So we need to make sure we do this as soon as possible so that we can start having conversations with these principals and making sure that Westlake is a part of the conversations as our neighboring cities are in regards to their educational advisory boards. So with that being said, I'll make a motion that we table tonight's appointment to the Education and Youth Advisory Board until we are able to have a working workshop where we invite the applicants who have applied.
Okay, do we want to put a time frame on it? Because like I said, I might be looking for more applicants, and I don't know if we're talking about a month or two, and I realize school is starting here soon, but
Well, we have a motion on the floor right now, the table.
okay.
So if we could have a second.
I second that motion.
Motion made to table new business item A by Vice Mayor Long Robinson, seconded by Councilman Paul.
For the record, Zoe, can you please tell us when did the applications go up?
You mean the notice?
Yes.
Go up. Just a moment. I'll check for you.
June 19th, I believe it was. That's when it was posted on the website.
That's it?
So, Councilman Paul, do you want to have a full month that you're asking for, an additional week?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
We got a motion and a second.
Roll call. Councilman Paul.
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Manning.
Yes.
Motion to table passes 5-0.
Thank you.
I'm going to get clarification then if we're tabling it till the August meeting, correct? So would you want to have the workshop the first week of August, or you're waiting till longer for more applicants? That's what the next question.
First week of August might be okay. Hopefully by then we have more applicants. If not, then we go with what we got.
All right, we'll schedule the workshop for if you all would look at your schedules as to when the first week of August, what day, whether it's August 2nd, what your schedules are on August, first week of August.
This will be a virtual workshop?
Yes, it'll be a virtual workshop.
Anytime in August is fine. I think it's a great idea that we
Yeah.
have the workshop and then right before the August meeting.
All right, the workshop would be the first week. The August meeting would be the following on the 10th. So how about, does Tuesday, August 4th work for everybody?
Sure.
At
Yes.
6?
The 4th is okay with me.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson?
The first week in August is really bad for me. If I can't attend, you all go ahead and have it without me. But that week is just really bad for me.
Okay.
I can do the 4th. I'll just, can we maybe start the workshop at 6:30?
6:30 is fine.
Okay.
Let me ask you this.
I want to, seeing that is really the vice mayor's project, she's brought that to life.
Yes.
But I would like for her to be involved, so maybe we can find a different date. Vice Mayor, what would be a good time for you for a good day?
Really, the last week in July would work for me. But if you know, the last week in July.
You want
Mayor-
to do that last Friday?
Mayor, if I can ask for a clarifying question. JP, you mentioned before the meeting, were you thinking before the meeting on the 10th? We used to do these
No.
workshops an hour before. Okay.
No,
you want it
no,
the
no,
week
no.
before. Okay.
The week before, so we could actually get into it and spend a little time with it.
The last week in July is fine with me also.
All right, so the 30th to the 31st, which is preferable.
But the 30th.
Do either one of those days.
Okay, 30th at 6:30.
Good.
Okay, I'll work with the clerk. We'll get it advertised and put the agenda together for y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Zoe, can you repost that on the website?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in order to increase the number on here, that wouldn't come till our August meeting on the board. So can we can make a motion to increase that this evening or not?
You would give direction to increase that number, but it has to be formally brought back for you for
For the next meeting.
approval. So that would be on your August 10th meeting.
Okay. So would you like to make that recommendation, Vice Mayor, and then we can have it on record?
Well, Councilman Paul, are you here? I think Councilman Paul made the comment to, well, I guess if we see we get more, then we can wait. Okay, I can make that recommendation. I make a motion that we increase the number of persons serving on Education and Youth Advisory Board to 5 with an alternate of 1 instead of the number that we have now at 4 with the alternate of 1.
I second that motion.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Long Robinson to increase the number of persons serving on the Education and Youth Advisory Board from 4 regular members to 1 alternate member. Seconded by Councilman Paul. Roll call. Councilman Paul?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump?
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson?
Yes.
Mayor Manning?
Yes,
Motion carries. Thank you.
thank you. We'll move on to the Palm Beach County League of Cities voting delegate and alternates. This is resolution 2020-20. So if you could read.
Before you is a resolution. The city received a request from the Palm Beach County League of Cities to designate a voting delegate and alternate voting delegate to vote on behalf of the city at any league general membership meetings, special membership meetings, and/or function of the general membership.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
Can I,
Just-
on there, so how does that, would you have to attend the meetings? How does that work?
Yes.
Yes, if a delegate, whether whoever the original is, cannot attend, then an alternate could attend and vote for the city. And what we would do is it would give us the flexibility to work within the council to see who can attend and who can't. If the mayor can't attend, then one of the other of you can attend and vote for the city.
Okay, understood.
Yes. Perfect.
One quick comment is, I would add a recommendation, because I didn't see it on the resolution. I would just add a quick recommendation that we revisit it every year to keep the list updated.
Good suggestion.
Mayor, council, if you make a motion to approve this, I would like to make that amendment in section 7, that this will be reviewed by the council annually at the time we appoint the vice mayor, and that's April of each year. So just prior to execution, that would be added to section 7.
Thank you.
Excellent.
So we have a motion to adopt resolution 2020-20.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2020-20.
I'll second.
Would that be with the amendment, correct, Mr. Councilman Connor?
Correct, with the amendment.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion made by Councilman John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Councilman Patrick Paul. Roll call vote. Councilman Paul?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump?
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Mayor Manning?
It would be a yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a update submitted by Mr. Castle with the Federal Emergency Management Agency for the HAMMOCK.
Yes, yes, Major and Council. This is the LOMAR, which is modifying the floodplain area for the hammocks. It's been in process over 2 years. We finally got it through the FEMA people. Our ordinance 2018-08 is compliant. Some of you have asked a question of that it mentioned about being compliant with 44 CFR, and 44 CFR subsection 60.3 C2 is talking about that our all commercial or other structures have to be at or above base flood elevation. Our elevations actually put the floor levels above that by 1 foot. So we actually have a foot of freeboard as we're working through, not only with our comp plan, but in our LDRs. So we are more than compliant with all this. This goes into effect July 15th. And this is just a formality of public presentation that it will go into effect on July 15th. No action is required by the council.
And so how does this affect land homeowners in the hammocks in Westlake?
The overall effect is prior to this, their flood insurance ratings, they were having to pay significantly higher flood insurance coverage, which I understand Minto was covering some gap on part of that. That will no longer be necessary because their flood insurance policy should drop significantly because they're above base flood elevation, because the flood map now shows them in a zone with the current elevations and correct elevations. So their actual cost of flood insurance will drop significantly.
So the homeowners should be, they need to notify their insurance companies about this?
Yes, they would need to notify their insurance company about this.
Okay, so that'll go out on the
We'll
Facebook and other
Yeah, we'll
social
post
media?
it, we'll post it on the website and our other media outlets.
Thank you.
Mr. Castle, if I'm not mistaken, this is already in effect, correct?
Officially, it's in effect in 2 days, on the 15th.
Excellent.
But it's been in place. There's been a comment period, and that's why you only post it towards the last of the comment period to make sure there's no comments or changes. And we're at that point, so now we can present it to the public, and it will be official on the 15th.
Will there be, when you post it on the website, will there be some sort of PDF or whatever that the homeowners can pull down to submit to their insurance company?
Yes, we will. We can put the notification on of acceptance. We'll put the right document on so they can send it off to their insurance company.
Okay, wonderful.
Anything more on that?
No, that's it that I have on that one.
Okay. Then we'll move on to D, permanent standby generator, discussion and presentation. Mr. Castle.
Okay. I think Zoe's going to set up the slideshow for me.
Just a moment.
Okay. Mayor and Council, Nancy, who sent that letter in earlier thanking the planning and zoning and building official, is the real key for this. Her questions is, can she, how can she? And we've been looking at the ability to put a standby generator on these lots and looking at it from the perspective of how do we, as I stated in one of my earlier communications with the board, my push to planning and zoning and engineering and building official was, how can we? Is there any way possible? So we went through all the various codes and stuff and worked this through. This is will be applicable to 50-foot, 40-foot, 65-foot lots and screenings. In the applicable codes in the building department, there are multiple manufacturers, standby generators. There's Kohler, Winco, Generac, Briggs & Stratton, or a number of the things that we are out there. All of them require different kinds of distances from the buildings, et cetera. On the codes that we looked at the National Electrical Code, NFPA 37, NFPA 110, the Florida Building Code, our own ordinances, FEMA Publication 348, Underwriters Lab, and manufacturers' installations as we were trying to figure this out of what could we do, could we actually do it. The minimum code requirements, as you can see here, is they have to be at least 5 feet from any openings in walls. Those are critical, and has a 1-hour fire rating between the structure. The concrete walls of the buildings that are here meet the 1-hour fire rating, and they have to be 5 feet from openings. Also, that the exhaust, the other critical portion of this, is the exhausts have to be located so it will be at least 10 feet from any openings or windows, air intakes, potentially vents into the attic, things like that we looked at. A typical residential installation is a small unit that's roughly 2 feet by 4.5 to 5 feet long, about 2.5 to 3 feet high. Typical generator maintenance on the newer ones, you only have to the maintenance is all done on one side. As you can see in this picture, this generator is about 18 inches to 2 feet from the house, and then you can access it for maintenance. Again, we're looking at 3 feet from the house, 30 inches distance, must be 5 feet from any openings. A typical generator installation is you have a generator, plus you have the cabling and wires for the new services, the main breaker, and the automatic transfer switch that has to go on the outside of the house. So there's a number of work that has to go outside, which can be done without too much difficulty. Planning and zoning looked at setbacks. Could it fit? Will it fit? Won't it fit? So if you look at here, our side foot setback is 3 feet. So if we set the generator back 3 feet, and you sent 3 feet from the wall, that's 6 feet, you have 5 feet, so the generator may or may not fit. However, if you look at more of our code, our sound level code talks about any source level, create a sound which exceeds the dB. All the generators that we looked at in the information have a dB rating of less than 75 dBs, which is a sound decibel rating. Believe this is where we go. Yes, this is a video. Zoe is going to put on a video for you showing about the approximate sound generated by one of these generators as it's set up. Zoe?
Just a moment.
Hey there, Al Hicks here with Grand Home Electric. I'm one project manager here, and I'm also here on our generator sales and service. We're out here at home in Mount Pleasant. We just recently installed this generator. This is a 22 kW Interact Guardian series generator. We installed quite a few generators and come up with hurricane season, hurricane busy. One question I get asked a lot is how loud are they? And that's a very good question. All the noise around us here today, but I want you to hear what this thing sounds like at the board. Go ahead and turn on the generator.
That doesn't work very well. It isn't coming through.
Yeah, it's a embedded sound video that's not working too well. We've had quite some difficulty trying to load it and make it happen. So we'll just go ahead and move on. 75 dBs is not that loud. You can talk over it. It's not very loud at all. Let me ask Zoe to
Actually,
play.
yeah, enclosure really makes a difference also. There's padding in here to keep that noise level down. But if you're interested in the generator, get ready for hurricane season. Give us a call at Trans World. Ask for Al Hicks. We'll be happy to help you. Thanks. Have a great day.
I think she's about done with that. She'll transfer it back to me. As a side note, while we're waiting for the transfer back, as we deal with these technical things, it gives me a lot of appreciation for the guys that do this on a normal basis for podcast, TV, broadcast, et cetera, of all the background technology that has to happen and the timing. You get a real appreciation for everything that goes on behind the scenes that none of us really understand. Okay. Let's see, we're back. Am I back yet, Zoe? Yes.
You are back.
Okay, it's not letting me.
Just a moment.
A second. Okay, there we go. That video was supposed to show us what something less than 75 dB goes. Typically, all the locations that Nielsa and Joe have checked out, we looked at it along with Nielsa's staff. Everybody is a maximum sound level rating of 75 dB. All the manufacturers are at less than 75 dB so that they can fit in basically whether it's brand A, B, C, or D, it doesn't matter. They're all going to be within the proper area. This is a typical Generac. It's running a noise level between 57 and 67 dB. location on the lots. Now, the question is, can you put it on a side lot? Well, if you have a lot, you can see in this thing here, there's an AC unit that's already allowed on the side, 5-foot setbacks, 5-foot setbacks. You theoretically could do it if you were matching the 24 inches of the particular unit at the property line with 36 inches of clearance from the house. You could theoretically put it in there. The issue that comes is, depending on how you face that generator, if you face it one way, then the access for maintenance might have to be on your neighbor's yard. That's one of the things that we were concerned about. There have been some discussions about how to solve that problem. One is you can flip the unit around so that the doors for service open towards the house where you have your 36 inches of clearance, because you need that for service. Separation between 10 foot of generators. Let me back up here on this one, because what you would have to do is this distance here is, as you see, minimum of 10-foot separation. So you could not have two sitting side by side on any given lot between the two houses. They would have to be separated by 10 feet. We look at 18 inches off the wall is one of the minimum generators it requires. With a 2 feet, gives you 18 inches to the property line. But technically, you need 36 inches of clearance to work, so somebody could be partially on your neighbor's yard. One of the alternatives that we looked at was, instead of on the side yard setback, was that people could locate them in the back corner off their property, close, and this could actually be closer to the side yard setback if allowed, and be less obtrusive to the actual home itself. But again, that's a council decision that we need some feedback on. This is another one showing a 50-foot lot with 5-foot setbacks with a 5-foot from the minimum in the backyard scenario. Again, this is more of the distances between the walls and the separation of residential walls. This would be, again, it's another on the 40-foot lots. 40s and 50s have the same issues. The 65s have a little bit more space. They can fit, again, here's your 5 feet. What we're suggesting is, in part of this would be to require some hedge material, not all the way around the sides, but from the street side, so that it would help hide the units. Again, this would show 2.5 feet with a 7.5 foot setback. You could do it really easily to have your clearances that you need.
I have one comment. Putting stuff on the side of the house, and I'm absolutely not against generators at all. But one thing to consider is whether or not you have to get back there or in the backyard with lawn equipment, lawnmower, whatever. If you and then the neighbor has something, you know, on either side of the house, it may be difficult to get back there to mow your grass. So that's something definitely to keep in mind.
That is a consideration, and that's one of the reasons that we went round and round and trying to look at where they could be. And we internally, we kind of came back down on the fact that you probably, the best location is going to be in the, as I went back here, let me go back a couple slides here. In this back location, 5 feet off the house and towards the back, minimum 5 feet off on the back side of the house. Now, what it does do is it does make it more expensive to run to the electrical panel, et cetera, but it solves that problem of getting around the side of the house. Going down here. What we're suggesting on the screening, lots of our current code requires screening from view from adjacent property and right-of-way. Being it's a 5 foot setback, you would not be able to do it necessarily from your neighbor's property, but you could screen it from the street. And that's it. And the question for the council would be is, Are you interested in allowing them in the side yard setbacks, or do you want them to go in the back where 5 feet only, or let it be up to the installer and the homeowner on the decision? But we need some direction and parameters and feedback of what you all think would be the best option.
Can I have a question and a comment. Can you go back to the slide with the air conditioner handler?
Yep.
That one, perfect. All right, so just my thoughts and a couple questions. First and foremost, I think that sound levels are a complete non-issue here. Besides the fact that they're only 75 dB, these things are only going to be used when the power goes out, which we all know, national disaster. It's going to be a hurricane, which means that everybody's going to have their non-permanent generators out, and those things are not encased in plastic, so it's going to be loud regardless. So I just want to bring that to the forefront. Furthermore, as far as the maintenance access issue, if maybe you go back to that slide with the guy kneeling next to it to service it, I think what we're talking about here is the potential of like his leg when he's kneeling being a little bit on the your neighbor's property, possibly. He's kind of kneeling to the side. Say he was facing at it doing work. We're not really talking about, him standing in your neighbor's yard to service it. We're kind of talking about a little bit of him being there temporarily when it comes time to service. Lastly, regarding the point made with things on the side yard, part of your presentation, you said these things can't be 10 feet within each other anyways. So it's not like you're going to ever have a time where they're directly next to each other. I would really, really, really love to find a way to get this done in the side yard setback. I know that the juice won't really be worth the squeeze if you got to pipe gas all the way to the back. But that's just my opinion, folks. I think if there's a way to get this done. Oh, one more question. Were there any models of generators that you guys looked at that would easily work in the side yard setback? Like required less maintenance or less area?
We didn't go into the actual brands and styles, but from what Joe's experience in seeing them around is, if you look at the Generac or the Kohler or whatever, they're pretty much based. They figured out that if they can get them in a fireproof or a fire retardant enclosure, they can get closer than the 36 inches from the house because they're fire rated enclosures. So they can get them closer to 18 inches from the house, which allows them to go in more places. And because in a number of, just about everywhere, 50-foot lots are very, very common, and people are asking for these and requiring these. So the manufacturers have figured out a way to fit within, I would say, the vast majority of all the codes that are out there, and the vast majority of municipalities are that prime example there. The guy's not really building something in the neighbor's yard, but somebody's there once every other month or two doing a service on the thing, and it's not an issue for people.
Council member, please, we would like please to go to one slide where we have put the 18 inches from the wall, and that was based on the Generac idea. There is one slide that's showing the 18 inches.
I'll find it.
And Ken and Nilsa, I could add to that.
The next one, I think there's 2 more slides.
Yes.
That's one.
And I have Nilsa on the line, and also I have Joe on the line. So Joe, you have a comment? Joe?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes, we hear you fine.
Perfect.
Hello? Okay, thank you. Ken, I think you touched on something that's pretty important. Given the vast majority of communities that we're seeing built now and the lot sizes ultimately that we have, there's a vast majority of manufacturers that have ultimately seized the opportunity to understand that putting generators in the side yard can be a challenge. So there's several manufacturers that are producing generators that have what's called a fire-rated housing assembly, which means that the housing assembly of the generator itself has a fire rating. That combined with a structure that already has a 1-hour fire rating to the structure, in this case, cementitious construction, which is what we primarily have here for the exterior wall systems associated with the homes that are being constructed, that they've moved to 18 inches from the wall line to where the generator would then need to be placed. So there are options for manufacturers that allow for something to be placed closer than the 36-inch distance that has been historically used in many municipalities. So many jurisdictions have realized this and have worked with the manufacturers, or I should say the manufacturers have worked with NFPA and the National Electric Code to accommodate some of these smaller spaces. And in doing so, they have come up with the 18-inch separation. So there are products on the market that are available, but all the other parameters that we've discussed as far as exhaust separation and separation between the two units themselves still remains the same. But they made quite a bit of movement, if you would, as far as having the units themselves be closer to the structure.
Does that answer your question, Councilman O'Connor?
Absolutely. So it very much does. Thank you very much.
One thing that I would like to add with regard to this slide is that we are showing exactly 18 inches, 24 inches of the generator, and then we have 18 inches for maintenance. So we did put that in yellow, is that 18 inches will be enough for the maintenance. So that is the question.
I guess that is then where the petty neighbor comes in, and then if things go wrong, there'll be some words. That's just something to keep in mind.
But I think also in one of my conversations with Joe is the potential installer could flip it so that you had it closer to the property line and have your full clearance on the between the unit and the house. So it could be some creative installation on some of these items.
So what you're saying is a service, move it closer to the property line, and then the service would then be done on the house side.
Correct.
So that there's no potential for impeding on somebody else's property.
Correct.
One thing to consider.
Also, in one of my discussions with Mr. Carter was that the HOA has the ability to put some easements, some temporary easements over properties so that for like this situation with a maintenance that's not ongoing all the time, periodic access would be part of the HOA documents and stuff. So there is some possibilities of that as well, which could minimize the, as Councilman Paul said, the bratty neighbor that doesn't like you for some reason. And also one of the things that on most of, at least on all the Minto properties, they'd even though our city code allows for fences to come down to within 5 feet of the front of the property, the HOA documents do not allow fences past the back of the house. So you would not have a case where you would have a fence in the side yard setback that would impede access either.
So if I may, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I have the absolute utmost faith in our new electrical grid. I don't think that this is going to be a huge necessity for a lot of people, but we really do have to take into consideration that we have some residents with special needs. We have some residents that you know, medical equipment and whatnot that in the event of a power failure, they have to have power. So again, if there's a way to get this done, I'd really like to see it happen.
Well, is there any other questions from any other council members? I mean, I think we can craft a code based upon my discussions with Nielsa and Joe, to the fact that basically we will create the box and allow the installer, the homeowner to figure out how to fit it within the box as long as they meet certain setback requirements, and go from there. We can start drafting the actual ordinance modification and get it back to you as soon as possible. If it's council's decision to go ahead, right, we'll have a screening requirement from the street for sure. If that's the general direction of the council, then we'll proceed in that direction. Is there any council members that does not want to go in that direction? All right, then we will, as staff, get together and start crafting this so we can fit them in the side yard setbacks.
Excellent, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, Zoe, you can take control back again.
Okay, we'll move on to resolution 2020-17. A resolution for six-time extension for special permit application temporary gas utility within Pod F of West Lakes. And we have a presentation on this also.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council member. This is an application from Florida Public Utilities, FPU. This is the sixth-time extension with regard to a temporary gas facility. It's very important to stress how many homes are these gas facilities providing. So up to now, there is a 678 single home permits issue, from which 338 have a certificate of occupancy. So, and also just to put here into the slide that on June 8, 2020, the City Council approved Part O Phase 1 plat to build an additional 277 single homes. So these are 338 homes with certificate of occupancy is being served from a temporary gas facility. With regard to that temporary gas facility, they are requesting to the council a 12-month extension. The current application is expiring July 31st. So the first application was back in January 11, 2018. Then there was a second application to extend that temporary permit to July 11, 2018. The third application was October 29, 2018. In that time, council granted a 9-month extension. Then there was a fourth application for an additional 6-month extension. And then the last application was January 13, 2020 for a 5th-time extension expiring now July 31st. So anybody will wonder what happened in all these years since 2017. So why are we still operating with a temporary gas facility? So throughout this year, FPU discussed with the city, with SID and the developer, permanent gas locations. There were several discussions. The first one, the intent was to install the permanent gas location each side of the M Canal. The second intent was to locate it west side of the end canal. And the current proposed is to locate the permanent gas line west of Seminole Pratt Whitney right of way. And then I want to show the different, where is the M canal located. So there was the first and the second attempt was in relation with the M canal. And now the third analysis is on the Seminole Pratt Whitney Road right of way. You all have seen it. We all drive by. That is the temporary current site that is providing gas to all the Westlake residents. So this is the last slide. So basically the applicant, and I know Mr. Moreland is also on the line, so he's here to provide more input with regard to this application. So they are requesting a 12-month extension to July 31, 2020. Once the permanent lines are installed, the temporary gas utility will be removed from the property. Since this is the sixth extension, staff is recommending that FPU submits a written progress report every 3 months to communicate the status of the project to the City Council. Thank you, and I understand the applicant is attending to provide further input.
Yes, I'm on the line. Thank you, Nilsa, Mayor, and Council. I appreciate the opportunity this evening. Everything that Nilsa has presented is accurate. We had worked closely to try to put the facility in those first 2 locations, and it was determined for various reasons on both sides that that was not feasible. So we're currently in the permitting process with several agencies to bring the pipeline up Seminole Pratt Whitney Road on the west side in the right-of-way. That's why we asked for a year instead of the 3 or the 6 months, is because we feel in that time that we will have the permits secured, work everything out with the city, with Minto, with SID, and all the other agencies to complete the system and be able to remove the tankers. So we appreciate your consideration in this request.
If you would, please state your name, but just for the record.
Yes, my name is Doug Moreland, and I'm the manager of gas operations for Florida Public Utilities.
Thank you, Mr. Moreland.
Thank you.
But just to understand that right, you said within 12 months, you would have the permit and the line built if we grant this extension.
That's our intention, yes, sir.
I have another question. It is hurricane season. How safe are these containers out there when it comes to hurricane? Is there a chance that residents will lose their gas? It'll be turned off for safety reasons. What is the status on that?
We would not turn off the tankers. If anything, there's additional measures that can be put in place to secure them.
So the residents would be safe with these gas trailers out there?
Yes.
FPU's tankers out there would also be subject to, as we get a storm approaching, same as other construction sites, et cetera, for making sure everything was secured properly.
Yeah, I just want to be sure residents don't lose their gas.
Right.
Understood. As an additional update, FPU has already done several borings up the west side of Seminole Pratt between Sycamore and 60th, in preparation for installing the lines on that side. They're already working with the major property owner for a location for a pressure reduction station and working with Seminole Improvement District on access in and out of that pressure reduction station in order to serve the community. So they are moving on multiple fronts. They are working with the county, and I believe they've already put in some applications for Indian Trails because they cross several Indian Trails easements south of Sycamore.
Yeah, to connect, if you do the pipeline, to connect it to what's already there, is that, well, as simple as just that, connecting it to the lines that are already there, or do you foresee any disruption for the residents to the additional lines or?
As Ken mentioned, and thank you, Ken, for explaining that, there would be no interruption to the customers. The reduction stations and so forth would be tied in, and you would not see any disruption. We would tie those in before we would disconnect the tankers. So to the customer, it would be seamless.
This is Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson. Thank you, Doug, for your explanation, as well as Nelsa. I would mimic basically Councilman Paul, if we could get this done and resolve this gas issue and set a date so that we can have that done, that would really, really help. So Ken, if you could set a deadline date so that this can be resolved. It
would be 1 month, 1 year. It would be July 31st, 2021 would be the extension, the end date. And and FPU will be pushing to do it before then.
Okay. And can we get, I like in the result of getting a progress report every 3 months. That probably would help. So we can make sure that we're all on one accord with that.
We will provide that. We agree with that recommendation.
Along with Councilman Paul, I'd like some insurance somehow on the fact that if a hurricane blows through, that it's not going to disrupt those tanks out there and cause a problem. Do you have any calcs as to how much wind these tanks can take?
That company is actually a subsidiary of our Chesapeake Utilities, who owns us. So I will reach out to them, and I can provide that for you, Mayor.
Yes, I like to see that.
Okay, I will take care of that.
We have any further discussion?
Councilman O'Connor here for the record. I think that considering this is the 6th time extension, it's imperative that we get these progress reports every 3 months. I would even recommend, a mandatory written progress report every 3 months, but please take it upon yourself to update us monthly so we know what's going on with this project. I think that would be wise, and we're going to hold your feet to the fire a little bit and make sure this gets done on track and on time.
I'll be happy to work with the town. I know Ken has my email and information, and regularly, we communicate. Be glad to keep you updated.
I'll put it in my reports to the council on my updates.
Excellent. Loop us in, Ken.
And I mean, we really have no choice but to vote on this tonight. But as far as the safety, nearly I would say we tabled this, but like I said, given the time and the date, we can't. So if you can get us something that lets the residents know that in fact these things are safe and what kind of winds that they can sustain, that would be, well, comforting, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if we don't have any further discussion, can we have a motion?
Mayor, if I may read the resolution into record.
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Resolution 2020-17, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving a 6-time extension for a special permit application of a temporary gas utility within Pod F of Westlake TTD. The applicant is requesting a 12-month extension to July 31st, 2021 in the City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for implementation and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
I'll make
We
a
have-
motion to adopt resolution 2020-17.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Crump, seconded by Councilman O'Connor. Councilman Paul.
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Manning.
Yes, please.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay. Move on to resolution 2020-18, authorizing a budget adjustment funds transfer for legal services.
Yes, Mayor, Council. In my memo that was in the package, we do not have a policy, as most municipalities do, allowing the manager to reallocate funds within departments as long as the total budget is not exceeded. So therefore, I'm bringing for you tonight the recommendation to reallocate funds from the one department to the other, to the legal department, taking it from miscellaneous event expense in the City Council's budget line into the legal department, which will cover the extra legal expenses that have been incurred this year and a miscalculation on the part of my accountant. We missed a couple lines in the contract, so we're over budget on the legal department. This will cover the legal department based upon the current allocations and the current that's proposed before you of Mr. Gerolum's expenses to the end of the fiscal year.
For the record, this is for, yes. For the record, this is for money we've already spent, correct?
2 of it is yes, and part of it is would be the Gerolum contract, which has not been authorized yet, but the time has been expended. The invoice is sitting there, so it would cover all of these.
So next thing would be approving the contract for Gerolum, who's already completed the work.
Correct.
Okay.
And typically, a lot of times what happens is you bring in a contract for extra work or for somebody, you bring it in, and as you're bringing it in, as part of the bringing the person on board, the manager finds the location of the dollars of where we're going to spend it, whether it's out of miscellaneous expense, whether it's out of surplus, wherever, and that's part of the whole motion of getting the contract on and paying for it all at the same time.
In the future, I would like to see the approval of the contract before he's contracted, before he does the work, and as well as allocating the funds. If we need to move it from one section to another, I think that should all be done beforehand, moving forward.
Understood.
I think I saw somewhere that where the city manager has approval to allocate a certain dollar amount of funds, reallocate, I should say, from the budget. I don't think all of it does it? Isn't there a dollar amount?
There's a spending in the spending, but I don't believe it authorizes the manager to move from department to department. I may be wrong, but I don't remember seeing it from department to department.
I think there might have been.
From what I read, I believe there's a certain dollar amount that you can spend without getting authorization from the council.
That's correct.
But I didn't, like you mentioned, I didn't see anything where you could say, take money from one department and move it into special events or move it into another department, which is, I believe, why we're having this
That is
conversation
correct.
today.
Okay. We have any further discussion on this? If not, we have a motion.
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution 2020-18, authorizing the budget adjustment funds transfer for legal services. I mean, guys already done the work.
Screw me, I got ahead of myself again. So if you could read it by title.
Thank you. Resolution 2020-18, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Westlake, Florida, authorizing a budget adjustment for fiscal year 2019-2020.
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution 2020-18.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Motion made by Councilman O'Connor, seconded by Councilwoman Crump. Councilman Paul?
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump? Councilwoman Crump?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman O'Connor?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson?
Yes.
Mayor Manning?
Yes,
Motion carries. Thank you.
thank you. Item G, approval of contract with Rick Droll.
Mayor, council, what you have before you this evening are a couple of items. One is the actual contract that was entered into with Rick Jerolem for legal services. That contract was very specific as to the one item that Mr. Jerolem was to look at. The agreement with Mr. Jerolem is dated April 20th, 2020. It was to provide an opinion in regards to CID and city authority as it pertains to several documents, the interlocal agreement, the enabling act for CID, the city's charter, Florida statutes, and the Uniform Land Development Code. The engagement letter spells out the disagreement that the city attorney had with CID's general counsel in regard to the authority and bonding. It was a very specific and limited item of legal opinion that was requested by Mr. Jerolem. The invoices attached to the matter this evening are for Mr. Jerolem's services. I've reviewed the time detailed in those invoices. That is time that was spent to bring this item before the city council, to go through the workshop meetings with everyone, and bring resolution and some decisions in that matter. Also, you have attached to this is a legal opinion I received from Mr. Carter on or about July 2nd, 2020, from the law firm of Genovese, Jablov, and Baptista, where there are several cases as well as Attorney General opinions that are cited in there, stating, in Mr. Jablov's opinion, that sunshine laws were violated. I disagree with those opinions. I provided a written opinion back to you as well in the packet to address that item as well. There are several items that Mr. Jablov goes into. Most of the cases there address individual council members communicating with each other in attempts to avoid the sunshine. Meant to you that those were not the issues, in bringing Mr. Jerolem to provide a legal opinion. It was simply to address these matters. There was no attempt to circumvent the law or to have any closed door closet meetings out of the sunshine and retaining his services. It was strictly to provide an opinion to move us forward so that codes could be drafted and implement it for the city. That opinion is there. I would request this evening that you approve Mr. DeRoland's contract and authorize payment of the services he has provided. And if you have any questions about any of this, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. Again, I do not believe there was any sunshine violations, but according to the case law, even cited by Mr. Joblow, as well as seminal cases on this issue, the city is authorized to bring these matters back to the public, vote on them, and that would cure any potential alleged violations of sunshine.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I have one question. The current amount now is $18,795. It was $13,195 before, correct?
That is correct.
Then we'll need to adjust the transfer that we just did by $5,600.
Can you repeat that cost, Ken? I'm sorry.
The original, in the calculations, the transfer was the $13,195. I was unaware of the $5,600 additional till now. So therefore, we need to make an adjustment, increasing that $55,000 to $60,000, $600, which will cover the remaining of the year for the legal department.
May I ask what changed? So we're looking at two different amounts now.
The first invoice that was provided was a partial invoice. The second invoice includes time for the workshop. There was a public records request for the initial invoice. That's all I had at the time, and it did not include the workshop meeting.
It was $6,000 workshop?
It's detailed in your packet. It includes more than that, but it did not include that time.
Do we have any further discussion?
I just think it's important to state that in the future, rather than, bringing this up before the council to cure any alleged or possible violations, we should have just done this from the get-go rather than, putting the cart before the horse. It would have been nice to know exactly, how much we were spending. My jaw hit the floor looking at some of the upcoming budget items. So I really think we need to curb spending and be more involved in these decisions. But the guy's done the work. We can't go back now and not pay him. I mean, it is what it is.
If there's no further discussion on this, could we have a motion to approve or disapprove?
Can we put in the motion to approve this, also tie into the motion to move an additional $5,600 out of the miscellaneous event expense into the legal budget?
I'll make a motion.
I believe that should be two separate items. If you want to make a motion to approve this, we should go back and open up that prior item and make the adjustment to that prior item.
I just need to make the numbers match.
Do you now need a motion to open up Resolution 2020-18 again?
It would be to amend it.
Okay, so I will make the motion to amend Resolution 2020-18 to transfer the correct amount or the difference of the $5,600 from the miscellaneous budget to our legal budget. I hope that's correct. I'm confused.
That's right.
That-
Okay.
Vice Mayor. thank
That'll
you.
cover it, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I second that motion.
Councilman O'Connor has me confused.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Long Robinson to amend Resolution 2020-18. Seconded by Councilman O'Connor. Roll call. Councilman Paul.
Yes.
Councilman Crump.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Manning.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now, could we have a motion for approval of the contract with Rick Jerome?
I make that motion.
Okay, perfect.
Second the motion.
Motion made by Councilman Paul, seconded by Councilwoman Crump. Roll call. Councilman Paul.
Yes.
Councilman Paul.
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Manning.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, H, presentation of the audited financial statements for fiscal year ended September 30th, 2019. Mr. City Manager?
Yes, Mayor and Council, you have in your packet the auditor's report of Burger Tombs, Alam, Gaines, and Frank, which is required each year annually. If you've read through it all, it's a restatement of the assets, general liabilities, and items they check, and they do spot checks as to the financial oversight, how things are done. The key is you really go down to page 26 of theirs letter, which is the management letter, which is the key crux in the summary. And in the management letter, which is on page 26 of their document, you'll see that in prior audit findings, there were no findings or recommendations in the preceding audit from last year where we had a clean audit. And on this year, we did not meet any conditions described in section 218.503 subsection 1 of the Florida statutes, which require reporting by the finance auditors to the state. And they did not have any recommendations to improve the financial management, which is on page 27. So bottom line is we have a clean audit again this year, and a motion to accept the audit as presented would be in order.
I'll make a motion to accept that audit.
I'll second.
Okay, no further discussion on that. You got a first.
Want to?
Mayor, if I may take the roll.
Please.
Motion made by Councilman Paul, seconded by Vice Mayor Long Robinson. Roll call. Councilman Paul.
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Manning.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item I. Budget discussion and setting preliminary millage rate. So let's talk about the budget. Mr. Costa.
Yes, Mayor and Council, trying to share my screen with you all. Zoe, it's
Just a
not
moment.
letting me work.
You're the presenter now.
All right, thank you. Mayor and Council, this year's budget, we're looking at, this is a preliminary drive-through and my budget message initially. Highlight a couple things. I'm not going to read everything that's in here on a number of these items, but I will kind of give you the elevated issue. This year, it's interesting, our taxable value increased by 110%. One of the questions that comes up is, as we look down the road, is if you go into this budget year with the new taxable value, we'll generate about 1,086,637 in taxes revenue for this. Now, under the statutes, that's against a $3.2 million budget, which is a decrease over the current year. If you look at the millage rate, which we're required to report to the general public, it looks like there's 109.95% tax increase over the rollback rate. As I explained last year and the year before, the rollback rate is the rate that you would set your millage at to generate approximately the same amount of revenue that you generated last year. But with a growing city, you cannot do that because your administrative and expenses continue to grow as you're growing the city. So therefore, you need to hold your millage rate flat at 5.125, which was the plan on the incorporation and conversion and incorporation plan that was voted on back in 2016. Translated into current, unless somebody's house value went up, they would pretty much pay exactly the same to the city as they did last year, because it would be flat. So it would be 5.125 mils based upon the assessed value of the house. How does that break out into 2021? As you can see, 52% of our budget would be generated by ad valorem taxes, 34% by ad valorem taxes, 52% of our revenue would be coming from the developer again, 2.8 in permit fees, and about $203,000 in other taxes, franchise fees, those kind of taxes, taxes on water, sewer, electric, stuff like that. As you can see in this one here, projected over the next few years, as you can see in 2021, the yellow is the developer contribution. And as the houses go up and the ad valorem taxes net of discount continue to rise, and we took a linear equation on this because trying to do a calculation based on variables is a little bit difficult, so we annualized it and did a straight line progression of growth. According to this, based upon our current growth rate, which just changed last week, we should be off of developer funding by 2026. Now, our developer funding goes away in 2023, which goes to Councilman O'Connor's questions is we have to look at our budgets. We have to be continually tightening and looking at so that we can try to get this 2026 line back here at 2023. Again, just some charts of where we are currently, where we expect to be over the next couple years on numbers of houses. Now, 500 houses in 2021, we're already at 460, what was my calculation? 461 houses occupied and CO'd currently. So we will exceed that 500 that's projected on these charts. So let's drop into here. This is a breakdown of the budget by department, and you can see this is a general pie chart: city manager, administration, city clerk, legislative, finance, community service, legal counsel, and contingency. One of the things that we're doing this year, and as I explained in one of my earlier budget discussions with the council, was that by the time of 2023, we need to have in place our first quarter operating reserves, which is 1 quarter's worth of expenses prior to that period of time. It's standard budgeting practices and good best management practices. Plus, we need at least, I think it's 5 or 10% contingency fee fully funded. So what we're going to be doing this year is we are funding 1/3 of that contingency and 1/3 of that first quarter operating reserves in the budget. This shows expenses for the various items year over year as to where they've changed and where they're going. Now we'll go into the budget summary overall. Total revenue, one of the things that you'll look at here is you'll wonder, our budgets are changing. This is the forecast for 21, is including all expenses is a $4.7 million budget. Our forecast this year is 3.9. Originally, we budgeted a 4.1. So we're a little bit flatter than what we anticipated. Total revenue is going to be, we're forecasting a drop of about 19.9%. Our personnel expenses have dropped with the change in council. Our operating expenses on a number of items we've cut back. One of the things that has changed, you'll see a large contingency increase here, which is funding that first quarter reserves and contingency fees. This is 21 versus 20 budget. You'll notice in this slide here that there is nothing in here on the budget for comprehensive planning fees. Part of the changes in some of the statutes and accounting is that the comprehensive planning, which is your building and zoning, planning and engineering departments, need to be accounted for in a separate special revenue fund apart from your general fund. So that's what we're doing this year. Things change, we modify the budget to accommodate the changes in reporting requirements. And as you can see, our property taxes increased, our other taxes are up slightly, our developer contribution is down some based upon projection. This is a comparison of last year to this year's budget. We were at with property tax at 13% last year. We're at 34% this year. Developer contribution went up a little bit, primarily because we're fully funding those 2 items that I had discussed earlier. As you go through, these are the individual line items that we go. This is a general summary. At this point, we'll go through department by department. This is the city's council's budget that's proposed for next year. You'll see that the stipend for the council has been adjusted based upon the 2 positions that have changed. Our legislative expenses are there. We cut back city events from 75 to 35 because we haven't been using it. I did not know whether we were going to be in a place to do any kind of other special events, but this still gives us some cushion to do special events for the council, and our council expenses is still here with dues and subscriptions. Let's go to, lost my place. The next item is the city manager's budget. In the line items, you'll see that overall there's about a $92,000 cut on a number of items in here. The professional IT services includes GIS, IT, the cloud services, all in that line item, and it's underneath the city manager's budget. One of the things we are working on and will be doing is we will be pulling out some of the other administrative cost out of the city manager's budget and tracking it separately so that we can do a better handle on exactly what items are there. In the manager's budget is also the public relations, the general government. We have in here, I believe, is the professional services. If we had to have a lobbyist is in there, administration and manager, et cetera. So we will be in the final budget modifying this and breaking it out to a better scenario.
When we see that before we actually adopt the budget, because I was gonna ask that you go through and break out what services are under each one of these headers.
Yes,
Contract administration, what is under contract administration? What's under professional services?
Correct. Those narratives are being worked on now, and this is, like I said, this is a preliminary to walk you through it, to set it up, and prior to coming up for the public hearing and stuff, the budget will have all that information in it and broken out as to what's involved.
Sorry, Ken, so are you saying it will not come up to 900,000?
The city manager's budget will not come up to this 900,000, but within the entire budget, that 900,000 will be distributed into other areas like administration cost, not necessarily the city manager's budget per se.
Okay, and so you will identify that. Okay, perfect.
Yes, we will subdivide these. And again, it's one of those things that as we continue to grow as a city, initially you put it all in one bucket, you're working from it. And then as you start growing, you start subdividing the buckets to keep track of them better, so that you know exactly what you're spending on a consultant or cleaning services or whatever it happens to be.
Okay.
But that'll be split before the next one. Yes.
The question I had also, we're sharing space with Seminole Improvement District.
Mm-hmm.
How are we allocating space and overhead space and so on for that?
They're being split based on utilization. The rent is $500 a year that the city's paying. SID is paying for cleaning of one of the buildings. The city is paying for cleaning of the other buildings. So we've divided up the services between the Seminole Improvement District and the city. The same with when we built the cloud system for services. We did one cloud service, but we've allocated the virtual units and stuff by percentage of how many are SIDs, how many are cities access to that. So we've appropriated the funds to account for the utilization. Okay, next item is the city clerk's budget. If you look here, city clerk includes in the website support. It actually is Code Red website, the fees for the new software for agenda packages, the archival system for all the emails and stuff that we're working on is all included in the website support in this line item here. And like the mayor suggested, we will have a breakout of narratives of what is in the website support, what is in the clerks, what is postage and freight. We'll do a narratives on all these line items for the next budget presentation. The next department is the city attorney. City attorney is proposing a increase in the budget. The total amount, one of the things I've been discussing with the attorney is that it may be that this total is split into two components. We've been discussing that, but the total budgeted would be the 508 for the department, which includes the attorney's time and then any potential outside services or additional services that would be required. Yes, somebody's whistling or something? Okay, guess it's not.
Are we discussing Attorney Booker's budget at this time since we're on this?
It's up to the council. This is a presentation of an overview of where we're at this point in time. So comments as to where council believes we should be going on any of these budget items is welcome.
Okay, so when I was looking at, I do have a couple of questions. When I was looking at the presentation, Pam, you've done a phenomenal job. 31 ordinances, 41 resolutions. Can you explain to us the need for additional resources? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank you. Yes, a couple of the things that you've seen on your agenda tonight is the outside services for Rick Rollum. Those were not in the budget. So having this additional line item in a budget to cover outside council services would address that. We've discussed previously it was used for the election services and one other time. So if you have that in a budget, it would address those items. I spoke at the last workshop when there was a question about the need for additional assistance to get through some of the items that are coming before us. And the average salary for a 3 to 5 year attorney here in Palm Beach County is $75,000. That additional $120,000 it looks like Ken has in his line item would include the salary, the benefits, any health insurance, accounting services, IT services, software. Everything gets lumped in to that dollar amount. And so that would be the need for additional services.
So you would have a full-time FTE as well as a paralegal?
Yes.
Do you have any further questions, or Mr. Castle, you want to take over?
Well, I'll come back and proceed with the next section. Next is the Community Services Department, and what you'll see on this one here is it has been moved into, this is your PD, and they are flat this year. They are not increasing. So the contract sheriffs is a 677. We do have in this community services street lighting. I cut the parks, what I thought we would have parks last year. I put only 25 in this year. I don't expect we'll have to use it, but again, sometimes you budget for things and don't use them. It's just good budgeting practices overall. R&M to community services is the fees that are paid to Seminole Improvement District for tracking and delivering all the solid waste containers, et cetera, for the city, and then operating supplies. Here is the general funds, other departments. You can see finance, auditing service and finance are a little bit up. You'll see in here the contingency of we're putting in the proposed $136,000 into 1/3 of the contingency that we would need to have in 3 years. This increase here on the capital lease payments is prior to COVID, we were looking at, for space-wise, of having to add a couple additional trailer spaces in the back out here. That was going to be covering that. Depending on COVID, depending on how I'm doing things, we may or may not need that space this year, but I'm budgeting for it in case. And right now, we've been working pretty much distributed. If I can continue to work distributed and we don't need the space, then we won't be bringing it in. But if I need to bring it in, I will. And you'll see, again, here, first quarter operating reserves, 1/3 of what we're going to need is being held up in the general fund, other departments. Next is the special revenue funds. In the special revenue funds, this is a summary, is about $1.557 million. That breaks into 2 different components. The building department, building reinspection and engineering, planning and zoning is about $1.4 million is what's estimated on revenues and expenditures on that. That is totally driven by the number of permits and the amount of work that's required. Permits should offset the expenses, so it's a zero net gain as far as impact on any of the residents. So as permits continue to climb, you need more staff, you need more time. As they go down, one of the advantages of being a contract, we scale back. And the last one here is the detail housing assistance program. Currently, we have about, it's a little over a forecast about 1.3 million. We're going to anticipate, based upon the home sales and stuff, another $150,000. But as I stated earlier, according to what's been going on the last week or so, this may be increased because of the rapid speed that we're going at. The council had asked for some comparisons that I had given you all in here, comparing 2020 to proposed 21. One of the things that we looked at is typically we'll use a CPI on budget increases. Its CPI for this year is 0.1%. In the past, we've increased budgets at either by CPI or 1.5%. These columns are what it would be as if we did the CPI and the other, but our current budget is under those. Next is we have, let's see what this one is. Again, it's the rest of the budget assumptions for the next year. Council had asked a comparison. Can you all see that okay? Last month on the various, the number of different communities based upon what they're paying for legal, what they're paying for city manager, what they're paying for city clerk, finance, information technology, and all other administrative costs. That is in your package for your review. You want to discuss it further with me, we can individually, and this just gives you a background of where we are as compared to other municipalities within the region and across the state. And that brings us to Resolution 2020-19, which is based upon, this is what we need to do tonight. We're not adopting the budget per se or anything about the budget, but what we're doing tonight with Resolution 2020-19 is setting the proposed millage rate at 5.125 so that we can send that off to the property appraiser so they can put it on the trim notice. So that is the critical part that we need to do tonight. The rest of the budget items and adjustments will be between now and the first hearing in, we said it now. I'm sure we said it. Yes, the first hearing on September 14th.
Oh.
So between now and September 14th, I will provide you all with updated versions of the budget with the adjustments that are looked at, and any comments that you may have on the adjustments, we'll work that out and have that to you prior to that September meeting. And if necessary, we can create in August another workshop to go through the budget if you so desire. Are there any other questions by council?
No, I do appreciate you for keeping that millage rate the same. And I would like to recommend to council if we could definitely have a workshop on the budget so that we can really walk, just a budget workshop so we can absolutely walk through the budget. I think that these numbers, I would like to see Ken at staff a budget that is reflective of a pandemic. Some of the numbers, I don't know if they're necessarily reflective. I do know that we the homes are selling very fast and rapidly, but I also want us, you just never know what may happen. And it may be good to have more monies going into the reserves to strengthen our reserves. So I definitely think, I appreciate you for walking us through this. Ken, I wasn't sure if we were voting on this tonight, so that makes me feel much better. Like I said, I do appreciate the millage rate staying the absolute same, but I think council we should have a workshop on this. And in the future, I know we talked about it before, council, this is to each of us. I really think we need to do some evaluations prior to these budgets so that we can, make sure that we are doing an evaluation before moving forward with approving budgets. And with that said, when Zoe does the resolution, I'm willing to make the motion.
I have a general comment on the budget. First, Ken, can you go up to your very first page? I just caught a quick error that you might want to take care of.
Very first page on the.
Yeah. Yep, like your cover page. That one right there.
Yeah.
Scroll up so I can read it. Keep going all the way. All right, so you've got the seats wrong here under council members.
Uh-oh. All right, thank you.
Sure thing. It's one quick little thing. Just a general statement. I think that, excellent. I think that it's just absolutely imperative that we start curbing spending, guys. We got to rein it in a bit. We all probably realize that developer contributions aren't really going away in 2 years. I think we should maybe operate as if they were, prepare for the worst. And that being said, I mean, simple things like for instance, I hate to keep going back to it, but the presentation by Jerome, I sat through the workshop with him individually. As far as I know, each of you guys sat through it individually as well. And then we all sat through it at the actual public meeting. That's all dollars. I think we could have also just sat through the same workshop in one shot and saved a small fortune there.
Each council member has to be able to ask their question.
Did I lose you? I'm sorry. Hello?
I still get you.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I just think it's very, I hear music. Okay. I just think it's imperative that we start curbing spending and kind of rating it a bit, be very more pragmatic than we have been. And aside from that, I love the idea of a workshop to go through the budget.
Yes, absolutely. We don't have much time.
Based on that, would Tuesday, August 18th be good for you all for a workshop on the budget?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that should be fine.
A 6 or 6:30? Your choice.
6:30.
6:30?
Mhm.
Okay.
So we're doing August 18th at 6:30 p.m.
Would there be a virtual workshop as well?
Flip a coin, we'll see. I don't mean to be flippant about it, but it's, one day at a time. I think right now the governor's order is till September 5th that we could have the option to do the virtual. But it's up to council. We can possibly do council in person, although one of the things that we had issues with is when we get too many devices in the same room, we have some serious issues with feedback and interaction between other devices. So if we do a virtual, it may be easier to do a virtual where we can share the screen, we can look at it, we can move from numbers to numbers easily and walk through the line items. So a virtual might be the best answer for the public and everybody at the same time.
Yes, I know the feedback was an issue last time we tried doing it there, so unfortunately.
Haven't figured that one out, but it does seem that if you get more than 2 or 3 iPads in the same room within 10 feet of each other, you got issues. So, all right, so we'll advertise August 18th at 6:30 p.m. for a budget workshop.
Thank you.
So we can go on and adopt that resolution now.
Yeah, let's go ahead with Resolution 2020-19.
Resolution 2020-19, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, authorizing the city manager to send a proposed millage rate of 5.125 mils to the property appraiser for the fiscal year 2021 and setting September 14, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. at the Westlake Council Chambers, 4005 Seminole Pratt Whitney Road, Westlake, Florida, as the date, time, and place for the first public hearing, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
I'll make the motion to adopt 2020-19.
I'll second. Sorry.
Motion made by Councilman O'Connor, seconded by Councilwoman Crump. Roll call. Councilman Paul.
Yes.
Councilwoman Crump.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Manning.
Yes,
Motion carries. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on with item K.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay. This K item is an item that I brought up, and it's been brought up by another council member earlier at another meeting. And that's a concern about the manager of the Seminole Improvement District and the developer Minto, and also all there in the city of Westlake having the same legal counsel. With Minto being also represented by Louis Longman. Louis Longman has decided, as you've probably seen in the correspondence, they have decided not to respond to the question. And we did get a response from Infomark regarding their response, I should say. And Mr. Castle has also responded. I've read it thoroughly, and I don't know that obviously because we didn't get a response from Louis Longman, whether there's a real concern. So I'm going to leave it out there for if anybody wants to go through this individually with the city manager, or whether the response was adequate.
It is still hard for me to understand how, and from what I can see, King Castle is doing a fine job, but to have those two positions and be fully vested into the city of Westlake, and then having the conflict with the lawyers for Seminole Improvement District and Minto, I am not sure how morally how it works, how you can really separate, the city of Westlake, Seminole Improvement District, and Minto.
Mm-hmm. I work for the boards, as I stated in my memo, I work for the boards. I'm not the decision maker. I'm not the final person. I work for the boards at the board's direction. It is my job in either case is to carry out to the best of my ability the vision and policy directions created by those boards. When it comes to a place which is a difficult situation, it is the two boards that are the ones that have to make the hard decisions. They make the policy decisions. It is the manager or the responsibility to carry out those decisions. As I look at tenet number 4 in the FCCMA, ICMA, and FCCMA processes and tenets of management, I look out in both positions for the best interest of all the people. They're not two different entities. They're engaged in one. The end user is the residents of the city of Westlake, which also encompasses the residents of the Seminole Improvement District. They are the same. It is their pocket that any dollar or anything that comes out of, if it works well, if it's done efficiently and effectively, they benefit. Not the city benefits, not the district benefits. It is the residents that benefit by effective management and operations. If we get into a situation where we become like other cities that are bureaucratic, et cetera, you're going to get things that happen like the tax collector that bailed out of the city that they were trying to go into for 2 years. If we do things that we don't work efficiently and effectively and utilize the tool that we have at our hand in Seminole Improvement District, we're giving up a lot of potential. Currently, you could not afford, if Seminole was not doing what it's doing, the city could not generate enough millage rate to be able to cover its expenses and cover the landscaping cost of maintenance and operation of Seminole Pratt Whitney Road and the north part of Town Center Parkway. That contract alone is over $500,000. So by utilizing the tools that I have at my disposal in both positions, I am making sure that I do everything possible on both sides of the equation that benefit the residents of this area. That's all I have to say at this time.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay.
No, Councilman, I saw you about to speak, but then I was like, well, maybe he's not. Go ahead, please, go ahead.
No, I was just gathering my thoughts. All right, I'll be candid. There are pros and cons of having Ken in both positions. I'd probably say that there are more cons than pros. But that being said, I think it would be disastrous to make any kind of a change in that department right now in our growth phase, where, I mean, this is truly the time that matters the most. And just the thought of trying to move somebody else into that position so that there's no conflict, it's going to be a mess. And that juice is not worth the squeeze there. These are the cards that we've been dealt at the time. Seems to be working okay. Would I like to have separate managers? Absolutely. That way there's not even, I'm not saying that there's a conflict, but there'd be no appearance of a conflict. That being said, again, trying to move somebody else into that position now at the most important time of our city, where we're getting all of this stuff done in this uber growth phase, I think would be a disaster.
I would like to add, I do feel as though, as Councilman Paul, as well as Councilman O'Connor and Mayor Manning has said, this is something that we definitely need to look into. I would hope that at the inception of the city, that it would have been known that, Ken, you would not, I'm assuming that it was said you would not be carrying both roles the entire time. What I do think, Council, we need to maybe look into or discuss is, can you phasing out of the SID position and maybe moving forward with the manager position, but as Councilman O'Connor said, maybe do a phase of it. We look at so many months so that we can make sure that we are kind of moving forward with some things. But I do think, I will go on record with saying, I do think it's a conflict. And I do believe that we do need to try to move forward with you either representing Sid or representing the city.
Understood. And if you look at the response from Infomark, one of the last sentences,
Right.
it's been part of the, continues to grow. A full-time city manager will likely be required as part of the contract. And again, part of the thing of doing a dual role was because you're not paying for a full-time city manager per se, you're splitting the cost between the two. You're also keeping the operational cost down, as Councilman O'Connor has mentioned about how do you keep these costs down. You keep the costs down by figuring out how to leverage whatever personnel and expertise you have. You leverage them to the maximum amount possible. Now, part of the overall plan is everybody knew in my organization that we would get to a point where there would be a need to split because of the workload. I mean, there's no way that one person can do the workload on both situations as the city continues to grow. Because not only is the city growing, Sid's involvement, Sid's workload is increasing phenomenally on all the operations. So both are growing. So will we need to transition? Sure. The transition timing, we can work up a plan for that. That's not a problem.
Well, the other thing here is this. Legal counsel for Seminole Improvement District and for Minto is the same law firm. I would like to know how they separate what they're doing for each entity and still not be any kind of conflict of interest.
That's something that you have to get from them, and if they choose to respond, they can respond. I cannot respond for them.
Oh, I realize that. I understand that, but they're on, they can hear.
Understood.
So without any response, I don't know what that means. Do we have any other questions? Any comments?
I guess, Ken, my question would be in order to, get information or get the question answered, what Mayor Manning just said, how do we move forward with that? Or do we move forward with that? You're on mute, Ken. You're on mute.
Try it again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Since they're not direct contract with the city, I'm not sure they're obligated to respond in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. That's a legal question that they have to answer.
Even if Ken wasn't our city manager, we would still have no control over who Sid and who Minto uses as their attorney. I don't think we do. I could be wrong in that statement. It's just me thinking out loud.
Okay. As soon as that's not going to get answered tonight, we'll move on. We have city council comments. We'll start with John Paul O'Connor.
Quick and easy. I want to thank the entire council for their leadership. I want to thank all the staff. I think everybody's doing a phenomenal job. Reiterate, let's try and rein in the spending and be more sensible and more pragmatic when it comes to spending. And hope everybody has a wonderful week.
Thank you. Councilman Crump.
I don't have no comment at this time.
Councilman Paul.
I just have, real quick, I know Alicia Torres is always listening. Alicia, if you can help get that on Facebook, this educational advisory committee, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm sorry, hi, I'm here. When is the deadline extended to?
Can you please state your name
Oh, sorry,
and
Alicia
address?
Torres. My address is 5847 Whippoorwill. I just wanted to clarify if the deadline was actually extended, and if so, when to.
We'll vote on it in August. August 10th, I believe it is. We have a workshop July 30th. So
I think we should take applications up until the workshop.
For sure.
It's fine. Zoe, city clerk will collect potential applicants up until the workshop and distribute them to the council.
Okay. The other thing is, if we every now and then could get an update on a few local businesses to see how they're doing in this pandemic. It looks like Gator Shack is doing fairly well. I'm not sure about the other businesses, how they're doing. I don't know if there's anything more we can do. And I know there was a suggestion about them having outdoor space. I have no idea how that ever developed. So if we somewhere down the line could get an update on that, that would be appreciated. My last thing real quick for the next meeting, I don't know if there's, I have no idea what these meetings cost, these WebEx meetings. If we could get an idea what that costs, and where I'm going with this is, seems like we have much greater participation in the council meetings with these computers, these WebEx meetings, as it is a live audience. So if we go down the line, if we could have both, that might be a way to have more participation throughout the city. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, I'll have, we'll respond to what the cost is. I believe it's an annual cost that we're paying, but I'll have city clerk put that together and we'll put it out in this week's update.
Okay.
Now, how would that work without the governor's order? Sure, the public could attend virtually, but would they legally be allowed to comment if we were not under a state of emergency?
Councilman, generally they are not, so this would be as long as we have the executive order. One of the things other jurisdictions have is the meetings are live, so even if you don't have the public participation, the residents can view the meetings at home. And there's different options to make that available.
Excellent. So it would be like a hybrid.
Yeah.
Excellent. It'd be like a hybrid meeting where if you wanted to comment, you would have to be present, but you could watch it as if you were watching it on TV.
That's correct.
I love that idea. We would have to figure out the feedback issue.
Well, since they don't comment, there won't be an issue.
Maybe a single parabolic microphone in the room broadcasting.
Okay, Councilwoman Robinson.
No comment.
Okay. And I would just like to say that I'd like to when we get down to public comment, is Mr. Carter still on? No? I'll get to the end here. I'd like to have an update on commercial development, but if he's not here, we won't be able to get that, I guess. Okay, so without that, I'll move on. Let's, staff reports. We had in the packet. From Fire Rescue, we have a report, and from the Sheriff's Office report. I won't even go over those. And we have a report from the City Attorney on Mortgage Assistance Program. Next.
Mayor, Council, information from Palm Beach County, the Department of Housing and Economic Sustainability. It's a CARES Act program that the county has in place to help residents who are struggling paying their mortgage. I wanted to make sure this information was out there and on our website. It is up on the website, but I know different people listen in on the meetings. So if there's someone having issues making their payments, they might want to go on the website, take a look at some of the links and the availability of housing assistance in Palm Beach County.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Castle, do you have anything further?
A couple items. Council's aware that we did have a kitchen fire this past week. Fire Station 22 responded very quickly, put the fire out with minimal damage. One of the comments from one of the fire captains, I believe he was, mentioned that the houses are extremely tight. There was no smoke even coming out, so they had a heck of a time kind of ventilating it. So the houses are extremely tight. They were very impressed with that. And they did respond quickly. Second item is July 21st. Make sure I got the date right. Tuesday, July 21st, from 9 to 4 in the parking lot of the Amenity Center on the east side. We will be having a COVID testing put on by the county. It's a walk-up. We will be putting out a document that you can fill out on our website up front, or you can fill it out when you get there. I'll just saves time if you download it from our website and fill it out prior to showing up. It'll just speed the process up for you to process a little bit. But it was testing. We did get the county to come out and do a pop-up testing on the 21st. For primarily residents of Westlake. We are advertising it to residents of Westlake. Others may find about it and show up, but it's not advertised as a general nature. The third thing that we're in the process of doing, I'm working on scheduling a meeting with Palm Beach County in the next week or so to discuss facilities, what potentially some of their site planning is, what they're thinking, and where they want to go on certain items. So that's coming up. I'll keep the council informed as we progress down that road.
And what is the cost for the testing? Is there a cost?
There's no cost. It's put on by the county health department. It's residents show up, and it's not a antibody testing or anything like that. It's just the testing that either you have it or you don't have it. And it's being put on by the health department and run through their labs. So what I'm hearing in the thing is, depending on what lab processes it, it may take, 7 to 10 to 15 days to get your results back. Health department's processing it pretty fast. So you should have your 3 to 5 days. You should have your results back.
Ken, is it the nasal swab test?
Yes, I believe it is. The other thing that, as I put in the package to you all on the update today, is the state set up at the in West Palm Beach at the I want to say Best Buy, but it's not. BrandsMart, a state walk-up testing site that's open from 9 to 5, 7 days a week, and they can process up to 400 a day. So that's another testing site that people can go to as well. And with that, I'll wrap it up. I have nothing else to comment on.
Ken, can you, real quick, I know it's late. 140th, the blockade that's going on there. I drove by there today and they got this blocked. I guess things getting worse on that.
Yeah, the neighbors are fighting with the district and with the landowner on legal access, ingress and egress out of the property. Now, are you talking about the orange fence? Because that's been there about a month and a half or 2 months.
Well, I drove by there on account of your email,
Yeah.
but yeah.
That's part of the lawsuit that the Seminole Improvement District has filed against Indian Trails.
Well, all right. Okay.
Are there any other questions?
That is.
I'm done.
Okay. That gives us to the public comment section. We have anyone, Zoe?
I received no previous public comments. However, I'll give those on the line a moment to raise their virtual hand or unmute themselves. If you have a public comment, please utilize your virtual hand, or you may unmute yourself. I see no public comments, Mayor.
One more thing, Mr. Mayor, I apologize for jumping back in.
No problem.
But you did see the press release today from Minto. They
Yes.
opened the first phase of the Groves
Yeah.
and sold out. My understanding from Mr. Carter is last week, which included the weekend, they sold 35 houses in
Wow.
Westlake, Minto alone.
That's awesome.
So that's, to go to Councilman O'Connor's thing, is we had to
Yeah.
keep moving while we keep moving. And I'm looking also as the more houses we get built, the faster we can get off
Right.
that funding agreement.
Right.
So it's great news for all of us.
That's
Wonderful
terrific.
news.
Yeah. That's why I was hoping that Mr. Carter would be on tonight. I'd like to hear about what's going on with any possible commercial development getting started. We can certainly use that tax base.
Understood.
Okay. If there's nothing further for the order, I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 9:27 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone have a
Thank you,
good
Mr.
one.
Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, everybody.